I've definitely found a skull with a helmet, and it's definitely giant. I mean, it's as big as a Volkswagen Bug.
Really?
Yeah, there is some interesting things out there in the superstitions. I also wrote another book about the lost Dutchman's treasure, Story of Truth. It's called The Lost Dutchman's Treasure, Story of Truth. But if you can get a copy of it, I'll give you $1,000 for it.
Why is
No,
that?
the FBI says I can't sell that book. They actually called me and said we took that book away from your publisher, and you're
Really?
not able to ever sell that again. Do you understand what we're saying, Mr.
Really?
Gorrell? Oh yeah. And well, I have a little history with them.
Hey, online with me. I got Shane Gorrell, or I used to know him as Archangel. Hey, Archangel Explorations? Is that what it was, Shane?
that's right. That's
So,
correct.
anyways, I was talking to Shane the other day, and I knew he was one heck of an explorer and adventurer, but I didn't know exactly what all he was doing, and he was telling me some of the stories. So, Shane, I want to hear some of them stories, but I want to first start off in the Grand Canyon because you was telling me a story about doing some things in the Grand Canyon, and that it's always interested me because of the Egyptians in the Grand Canyon, and also because of Dwayne and Donna Woodward, who has done a lot of exploring in the Grand Canyon area and found some interesting things, and what you was telling me kind of matched up with that. So, with that said, Shane, take it away and tell me about your explorations in the Grand Canyon and what you did.
Sounds good, Terry. I would love to meet Dwayne and Donna. I heard their story, and I'd love to collaborate with them and get to know a little bit more about the areas that they're investigating, and I can share with you guys as well. It kind of goes back about 4 years ago. I wanted to investigate the Grand Canyon because of the ancient Egyptians. I believe the ancient Egyptians were originated in the Grand Canyon, and the Aztecs were in Utah and Arizona. I believe I may have discovered the location where their hub was, which I will be doing a story next month with a news channel, Channel 12 News. But yeah, in the Grand Canyon, I was researching the North Rim area. I believe the ancient Egyptians were in the North Rim. There's a mountain there called Mount Isis that the government named Mount Isis. That mountain is actually a temple. I did fly a Monster 185 through that side of the Grand Canyon.
What's a Monster 185?
It's a paramotor. The wing is like a parachute material, and it's shaped like a wing, like a airplane wing. I have a 20-meter wing and a 40-meter wing. So for the currents, the trade currents going through the Grand Canyon, I decided to fly with a 40-meter wing, and so I could glide further and quiet without using fuel. And because you use full throttle, it sounds like a weed eater going through the sky. Everybody can see and hear you. And my wing was sand color. I didn't want to go incognito. Really, I didn't even know that you weren't allowed to fly through the Grand Canyon at the time. After my flight was about 2 hours, and after my flight, I landed, and there was a park ranger that threatened me. Said you can't fly through the Grand Canyon; it's illegal. And I pointed to the parking lot, the North Rim parking lot. I said, there's no signs anywhere that says you can't fly paramotor or even drone. There's no signs anywhere that says you can't fly.
And what did he say?
And I did look. She said, if you fly again and I catch you, you will be arrested. And I'll have to call the police, the state police, she said.
So
And
you flew in areas where is not supposed to be flown through, and you was scoping things out because you heard stories and you wanted to see what you could see. Did you see anything interesting?
I may have flown through those areas. I'm not even sure because, there's no signs anywhere. I flew for about 2 hours. I covered a large majority of the area of the Grand Canyon. I flew over the North Rim. I just dove right over the side. And my main area was Mount Isis, mainly because of what I was researching on Google Earth. If you zoom into Mount Isis, you can see it kind of has the shape of a temple. Even it looks like it has a doorway with a hieroglyph of a duck on the side of it.
Really?
You can actually see a door, a square door. I have a
Really?
photo of it I'll send to you so you can attach it to this video if you want.
Yeah.
And then about 3 miles back towards the rim, there is a sphere that sticks up. And it's almost the rim height. And it has a bird head on top of it. It's carved. It's really ornate. And then it has like the wings fast back, and it looks like someone put charcoal in grooves of the wings to show detail of the wings. It's a beautiful art piece, and it's about the size of 6 vehicles. It's big, and you can see it from a distance. It looks like it was created to where if the water level was higher in the Grand Canyon and ships were going through, it would show the strength and power of the Egyptians. It looks like a sphinx. There does appear to be a sphinx on this temple. There are other carvings, and they look like someone had shot at them, maybe with a helicopter or something. Yeah, there was definitely bullet holes in a lot of the temple surrounding.
Really?
Yeah, and on the wall of the North Rim side, about 200 feet down, there's carvings of pharaohs. There's carvings of cats, the Egyptian cat. There's lettering. There's a lot of different carvings that you can see. Now, if you're up close and you're like maybe going down on a rope or something, you might not see it because it would be really distorted. You would have to be about 200 yards back to actually really get a good view of what you're looking at.
What do you mean 200 yards back? You mean these things are huge? These carvings are huge? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, the carvings are huge. I don't know who they would be for. Maybe ancient aliens or something, maybe. We're talking 20,000 years ago. I don't think the water level would be high enough to even see these carvings. And it makes me wonder who they were for and who put them there. It would have to be someone in like a flying machine, most likely.
So did you get close enough to them to inspect that it is actual carvings and it's not just looks like a pharaoh carved?
Yes, I did. I flew right next to him. I saw a leg sticking out. I flew right over a leg, and then I saw another leg. There's one that looks like a sphinx of a woman, and you can see the headdress, and then there's black stripes on the headdress that goes up, and the eyes are green, and it's beautiful.
Green, like there was emeralds in them or something, maybe?
Could be a stone. Yeah, it could be an emerald. I didn't get close enough to grab it, but yeah, definitely green in coloration.
Was there a lot of people in the Grand Canyon when you did this, or
there was a lot of people in the parking lot, and they all watched. It was Christmas morning 3 years ago, and I flew down from Anchorage, Alaska, flew into Salt Lake City. And I bought a van. It was a small Dodge Caravan. I had my paramotor boxed up in 2 large boxes, and I had a 3-wheel trike. So I sat inside of a trike, and I'm kind of a large guy if you can't tell. And I can't really run anymore. I have a bad knee, and plus a couple of years ago I crashed a paramotor. I fell 60 feet in the Superstition Mountains, and my legs folded, my knees folded, my wing inverted, and I fell straight down 60 feet.
How did it invert? Did you hit a downdraft or something, or what happened?
It was like a pocket where there was no air, and it just felt like a pocket, and it felt, I was flying. I shouldn't have been flying at that time, to tell you the truth. It was a little too warm, and if it's too warm, then your wing can invert. It was starting to go like this in the top center of my wing, and I was like, I tried to give it some throttle to get some uplift before I descended, and when I did that, it inverted all the way, and I fell down. I was close to the parking lot, but I fell 60 feet. The medic said I should have been dead.
Wow. Man, you're a lucky guy, Shane.
Lucky to be alive. Yeah, and I have a lot of pain. I have pain in my shoulder still. I just put lidocaine on my shoulder so I wouldn't feel the pain. But I have pain in my knees. I did have my left knee replaced. My right knee needs to be done. So I found most of the treasures I've discovered, or the locations I've discovered, were before my injuries, before my paramotor crash.
So I kind of derailed you from the Grand Canyon. So is there other things that you kind of seen, or was everything in kind of one area? Was there stuff scattered out, or and what was your conclusion of what you saw? What did did you see what you hoped to see? Did it give you more questions than answers when you seen what you seen?
Yeah, it definitely gave me more questions. It was mostly concentrated around Mount Isis area. There appear to be other smaller temples like this. I don't know if you can see this picture right here. This is a temple I discovered in Arizona. You can see like windows down the side and looks like rails. Looks like it could be a ship. There's a lot of things like that in the Grand Canyon. But Mount Isis seemed to be the center point. And it looks like a mountain, but you can see a staircase going up. It looks like there was a catastrophe, like maybe mud and maybe something like the Great Flood, where it pushed a lot of water up the Grand Canyon with mud and covered the staircase. On one side, you can see a doorway up high, and on the other side, real low, you see these two pillars kind of like they had fallen in, and another doorway that goes inside. And then on the backside of Mount Isis, it's really long, and there's doorways and windows. But the doorways appear to be about 20 feet tall. I flew right next to them, and I could kind of see in the doorway a little bit. Doorways with no doors.
So could tell? Did it go back very far? Could you tell, or was it too dark, or you couldn't really tell?
You can tell it went back in. I could probably see in maybe 20 feet. And then there was, like in Egypt, you'll see statues in the upright sitting position, and they look like pharaohs. They're all along the side of Mount Isis. And you can actually zoom in. If you know how to use Google Earth, you can zoom in, tilt Google Earth a little bit, and you can actually see them.
So while you was flying, I don't know, maybe it's hard to do while you're flying and that, but was you able to get any pictures or anything?
I had 3 GoPros with me. One GoPro facing towards the front, one GoPro facing towards the back, and one facing kind of at an angle. I wish I would have. I have a cuff GoPro with a red laser dot. I should have had that one so I could have spoke and talked about what I was seeing, but I'm not very good at editing.
So besides the Grand Canyon, you got anything else on the Grand Canyon you want to share?
It told me everything I wanted to know. Everything I suspected was real. I've lived in Alaska. I heard about the Blue Pyramid in Alaska. I've flown all over Alaska, and I've seen some amazing things there that kind of fall in line with the Egyptians. I don't know what ancient civilizations were up there, though, but I found some really neat things up there. But flying through the Grand Canyon definitely opened up. I believe, that made me believe that the Egyptians started in the Grand Canyon. And then after there maybe a flood or something created famine, probably most of them perished. And then some of them jumped in boats and took off. And they're where they are now today. I've done a lot of research on, like where the real Ark of the Covenant is. I've shared that a little bit of that with you. The Knights Templar being in the New World. Scott Walter's show on America and Earth really got me thinking on the Knights Templar being in the New World. since I've discovered some statues of the Knights Templar, helmets. I've seen helmets, swords, carvings. This temple, I believe, is Knights Templar.
So helmets, you mean actual metal helmets? Are you talking rock carvings or?
Yeah, metal helmets. I actually found a Spanish conquistador helmet, a breastplate, and a sword, and I donated it to the Lost Dutchman Museum in Apache Junction. They unfortunately, I thought they were going to put my name on the display, but they didn't. They wrote something else and forgot I even existed.
Really?
But it's on display right now.
How long ago was that?
About 4 years ago. But I have discovered other ones. I found a giant skull with a helmet, and it's sitting up on a rock right next to the doorway. The helmet has an eagle on top of it. There's like a little post, and then an eagle with its wings spread apart, and it's still there. Yeah, I'd like to take you there if you want to go.
Yeah, I'd like to see that. So did you discover that by flying with your paraglider?
I did. Yep. It's a new way of traveling a distance. If you know what you're looking for, you'll maybe you'll have a better chance of finding it. I was looking for the Montezuma Lost City of Gold, and I believe the Peralta Stones was a map to the Lost City. I believe I've deciphered the Peralta Stones. I did write a book about it. It's called the Peralta Stones Treasure Map, My Decipher. And the Peralta Stones were found in the Superstition Mountains. It's interesting when you dive deep into the Peralta Stones. It takes you to a whole different world. Didn't know how to do it. I thought, what am I going to have to do? And that's when I took up flying paramotor. And I thought, well, I can fly a paramotor. I skydive. So I took it up, and then I took up sitting in a trike and having GoPros, and I fly around different areas real low, and then I'd fly higher and a little bit higher. About 2,000 feet is a really good height to actually really get a good view of the area. And then I would record and then go back through my recordings and see what I see. If I saw anything interesting, I'd fly a little bit lower and fly by again, take a really good look. I've skydived in to Superstitions and Lake Powell area, and then hiked out with a friend of mine. He does wingsuiting and base jumping, but we wanted to hike 12 miles, so we decided to skydive in, and just roll our chute up and then hike back out. It just seemed to be a lot easier, and so I have more than 100 jumps into the Superstition Mountains, and then hiked back out.
Really?
Yeah.
So you spent a lot of time in the Superstitions.
I spent a lot of time, but in areas where people don't necessarily want to hike to, very difficult areas to get to. Those areas made me interested because they're difficult to get to. We've mapped areas and researched them. I've flown up and down canyons. I've even helped the sheriff out there find people that were lost. I found a girl. She was about 3 canyons over, hiding underneath a tree, and they said without me and my paramotor, they wouldn't have found her.
She was still alive, or she'd passed away?
No, she was alive.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, and they say you're not supposed to fly through the Superstitions as well, but I got to know all the rangers, and the rangers said it was okay for me to fly. And the Lost Dutchman State Park, those rangers, every one of them knew me, and they said it was okay for me to fly. There is some interesting things out there in the Superstitions. I discovered a door in the Superstitions that's approximately, I never measured it, never stood right next to it and measured it, but it's about 20 feet tall, and it has a swivel lock on top. And on the side, it has a hook, like a gate hook, and a door, like a doorknob, or a way to open the door. It looks like something for 2 fingers to slide into and to open the door up. And it appears to be stone, but it's sandstone, and I think it was pre-flood. Maybe the door could be gold. I'm thinking, back then there was no iron, right? So, or maybe there was, but it could be white gold, maybe, or platinum. It's definitely, I can see like an angle looks shiny silver. So I'm thinking white gold or platinum. And there could be a treasure behind it. It's really interesting. I have a lot of photos of that and some video of that. I've also discovered a temple in the Superstitions.
So hold on, back up, hold on, back up. So this door you're saying is 20 foot tall. Is this? I mean, because Steve Campbell and there's stories about giants in the Superstition Mountains. You know that there were giants.
Yeah.
The Indians talk about how that there was giants and used to eat their people, and so they band together and drove them out, killed them all off. So you saying this could be a door that tall would be something for like a giant, huh?
Yeah, I don't want to sound crazy, but I would say definitely there were giants in those Superstitions. I definitely found a skull with a helmet, and it's definitely giant. I mean, it's as big as a Volkswagen Bug.
Really?
Yeah, I have one story. I was with a friend of mine, and he was camping, and I was camping in my camper van, and we were out off Peralta Road, and his girlfriend, she had her van, and we were all parked in a little triangle shape, and we had a little fire in between, and it got late, and we all took off to our vans to sleep for the night, and I was just about ready. I heard boom, and the van shook. Boom, and the van shook. Boom, and the van shook, and it made me think of Jurassic Park, the movie. And I was like, what? So I threw the covers over my head, and I texted my friend Craig. I said, "Did you feel that?" And he said, "Don't shine a flashlight." And it made me think, oh my gosh, is it possible a giant could be alive in the Superstitions? And that was just 2 years ago.
Huh.
And it was, so we're on the Peralta Road, like going in towards like Wave Cave, and we were parked off to the right. There was like a ranch, and just past the ranch, there's like people that live in shipping containers, and just past that there's a small little canyon, and it goes down to like a horse trough of water, and we think it was walking through the canyon right there, and we were parked right next to the canyon. Yeah, it kind of like a little ledge. I wouldn't necessarily say canyon, like a creek bottom, and it was loud, and it shook the vans. It's possible, maybe.
So this giant skull that you found, is it still there? And is it
the last time I was in the Superstitions? It was there. I looked.
Is it something you can hike to, or is that something you've seen from your paraglider? Or
yeah, you can hike to. It's not even that far off the road.
Really? How come other people haven't seen it, or
I think you have to know what you're looking for in order to find it. There's a lot of things that are hidden in plain sight. That would be a great show, even hidden in plain sight. But if people don't know what they're looking for, they wouldn't see it, right? I've had a lot of people, I've showed it to like my wife. She's like, "Oh, whoa, that looks like a giant skull," and so there's two that I've discovered. One has, you can see the skull really well in it. The second one, the skull looks smashed, and then you can see the bottom jaw with the teeth kind of laying off to the side. And that one, the helmet appears to be gold. And on the side of the helmet, it looks like it's stamped into the side of the helmet of a lion's head and a mane. And it's really ornate. It's like a Roman style with the what do you call the broom part?
Yeah.
You can see the metal part, but the broom, of course, is gone. And then the side of the helmet, you can see the detail, really good detail on the side of the helmet, where it's cut out and bent for the ears. And that one's stuck in the sandstone, but you can see it really well. It's giant size though. And then the other one is propped up right next to a door. that goes into the mountain.
So is that something, Shane, that you'd take me to go see?
I would. I'd take you to show you the door as well.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think it'd be fun. Yeah.
So
I'm not. I'll show it. I'll show it. I don't really want to show it to the public. I don't want them to go and destroy it.
Right.
But I'll show it to you.
Cool, thanks. So I detoured you was talking about something else before we get to that wherever, and I don't know where you was going, and I hope you didn't forget where you was going, and I'm sorry I detoured you, but you said you have a book that's talking about the Peralta Stones and all that?
Yeah. I wrote a book, The Peralta Stones Treasure Map, My Decipher. There's a lot of people that say that they know where the Peralta Stones take them, and I think it's great. The Peralta Stones are very difficult to decipher. And, I've researched the Superstition Mountains there's guys that have been there for 40, 50 years, and they've researched on their feet and by horseback, and that's amazing, I think. I've mostly researched it from the sky or skydiving in and hiking in, and I've researched like the canyons, trade routes, water levels over the thousands of years, and really thought about where would I live if I was Aztec, right? Or Knights Templar, where would I be? And that's kind of how I deciphered them. But yeah, the Peralta Stones, like the witch casting spells, I'd love to show that to you. It's actually a shadow. And at 5:30 p.m., when the sun's going down, that shadow appears on a wall. And it's like 200 feet tall. And you can see it's like a warlock. He has a big, sharp beard, and you can see this pointy hat. And he's literally, it looks just like the Peralta Stone, just like it. Yeah, and all the symbols of the witch casting spells, you can see each symbol perfectly.
Really?
And and I think that's something that the Knights Templar did. The Knights Templar were supposedly practicing witchcraft. I think what was really going on, though, is I think the Knights Templar were teaching Christianity to the Aztec. And I think the Aztec lived in that region. Maybe not all of the Aztec. I think they were up in Utah as well, like near Moon Lake, because I've discovered things up there as well. But definitely in a couple areas of the superstitions, I believe the Knights Templar were teaching Christianity, and even the Apache. The Apache said they had a box that they took to war with them. They called it their thunder god. And they believed that their thunder god would protect them at war. Well, the Ark of the Covenant is a box, and it was taken to war to protect, whoever was fighting at the time. I think they're one and the same. I think it's possible that the Knights Templar took it to the New World to hide it, and they hid it with the Aztec so they would protect it.
So there's also a lot of people that say that the Peralta Stones are a fake. They were made up by Tomlinson and they're not real. Have you researched into that? What do you have to say about that?
I think the ones that say they're fake don't know how to decipher them. I'd love to teach people how to decipher them, and it's not even that difficult. If you know the area, like I would love to take someone like you to each spot and go, this is it, this is it, this is it, and this is where it takes you. The most important Peralta stone is the horse. If you understand what the horse is, you can kind of work backwards on the Peralta stones. And the heart, the heart with the year in it. It might not be a year. It may be a psalm in the Bible.
So if people wanted to get this book from you to learn more about what you've researched in that, how do they do that?
It's on the Amazon, and it's called the Peralta Stones Treasure Map, My Decipher. I also wrote another book about the Lost Dutchman's treasure. Story of Truth. It's called The Lost Dutchman Treasure Story of Truth. But if you can get a copy of it, I'll give you $1,000 for it.
Why is that?
No, well, the FBI says I can't sell that book. They actually called me and said, we took that book away from your publisher, and you're
Really?
not able to ever sell that again. Do you understand what we're saying,
Really?
Mr. Gorrell? Oh yeah. And well, I have a little history with them. So in the Superstition Mountains, I stumbled across a gold nugget, and 63 pound,
Really?
this big, yep, with a face in it. And I hired a law firm, and he got me an LLC, Archangel Exploration LLC, and we legally claimed it, and the FBI took it from me.
Really?
And they said you didn't have a treasure trove permit, and so we're going to confiscate this from you. And then they sat me down, and they had a big map of the Tonto National Park, and they said, "Where did you find that? Show us exactly where you found it." I looked at the map and I said, "Right here." And they said, "Well, how come you were looking over this way when you pointed to that?" And I said, "Oh, well, I've been through that area too, and they're really particular about watching me and but that particular book told more truth." So
I have a bunch of questions right now that I'd love to ask you, but I'm not going to ask you.
Go for it.
I don't want you getting in trouble, so I'm not going to ask it.
So they said I couldn't sell the book because it's borderline truth.
Really?
And I said, "Which part?" And they were silent. So
that's crazy.
I found something that's borderline truth, I guess.
So because that nugget had a face carved into it, it turned into antiquities. If it didn't have that on it, it would have been a big nugget, and there would have been no problem.
Either way, they would have taken it because I didn't have a treasure trove permit. It was laying right on top of the ground.
Well, it shouldn't need a treasure trove permit if it's a nugget. It's just
it shouldn't. But you're not allowed to mine or take anything out of the Superstition Mountains.
You can't.
Mm-hmm. If you come across a nugget, you can look at it, take a picture of it, and walk away.
Really?
Yep.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Huh. So if we open that door and there's gold bars in there, we just gotta shut it and leave. Forget about it.
Well, it'd just be amazing. That would be cool.
Yeah.
That would be cool to see gold bars. But it would be more amazing to me just to be able to see a big door like that, to know that them things really exist,
It's shocking. It's shocking. And really depends. I mean, once you start to see things like the door. You'll really see the lock, though. I mean, the lock's like 4 feet long. There's no way you and I could turn that lock by ourselves. It's huge. It's like this big around and 4 feet long. It had to have been a giant. And the door's kind of round on top. And where the lock, it's like a cylinder lock, and there's like this hole where the latch goes into the hole. I mean, it was used. It was definitely a door that was used. It's not the only door I've found. It's just the one that you can see the best and the easiest to get to. There are other doors in that mountain, and I'm sure they're in other mountains. Yeah, I've seen a lot of really interesting things around the Superstitions. I found some hooks on the side of the mountain. They're pretty interesting, and they're high up. They're like, if you go down to, I'll even tell everyone where they're at. If you go down to the Lost Dutchman State Park, it's a campground, and you have a really good pair of binoculars or like a spotting scope or a telescope, just look up at the face of the mountain. There's like pillars, one after another, all the way down the face of the mountain. If Flatiron's at the top right, you're looking right in front of you at the face of the mountain, and 3/4 of the way up is where you're looking. You're looking along the edge of the pillars, and you'll see these giant hooks. They're like 20 feet long, and
Really?
they're very, very, very interesting.
So what do you think they would be used for?
I've done a lot of research, Terry. Um, they open and they close like this, and something sits there, and then they close and lock it to the side of the mountain.
Huh.
And yeah, I suggest you guys go look at them. If you have any questions about it, get a hold of me.
So yeah, you
But
guys go look at it and then leave a comment and tell us what you think here.
yeah.
Oh,
So now, if you research other mountains, you'll find them all over the place. And behind the hook, so you got the hook that opens and closes, and behind the hook, down low, there's a bar like a shaft, and then it goes to a cog, like a wheel, like a cog that turns, that opens the hook back and forth. That's probably the most interesting I ever found.
that's pretty daggone interesting.
Yeah.
You found that by flying around with your paraglider and
I found it just spotting the mountain with binoculars.
so you spent a lot of time in the Superstition Mountains and just to let people know, you just don't go off willy-nilly into the Superstition Mountains. There's been a lot of people that
Yeah.
end up dead, running
Yeah.
out of water, getting lost, falling off cliffs. A long time ago, they used to get shot, but I don't think that happens much anymore. But a lot of deaths has happened in the Superstition Mountains. So you got to be cautious. You got to know what you're doing. You got to have a plan. You got to have plenty of water. You got to you got to be. It gets cold at night.
Yeah.
It's hot during the day. In the spring and the fall and the wintertime, it's warm during the day, but at night it gets bitter cold.
Yep, and there's a lot of weird stories, about the mountains: giants, reptilians, little people. There's some weird stuff. I'll be honest with you. There's some really weird things about those mountains, and depends on how deep down the rabbit hole you want to go. But I've seen some things. I'll never camp in those mountains.
Really?
Nope, no way.
Well, I know Salvador Delgadillo, and yeah, I think you know Salvador. He
Yeah, I
talks
know.
about one of the first times he was up there. He's seen these like Nephilim fire people. He called them because he called them the black energy fire because it was like they had black flames on them, and this was at night, and they was tall, and it scared the heck out of him.
Yeah, there's some weird things out there. You know, one time I was flying my paramotor. I was on the Peralta roadside, and I was flying up the trail, but really high up. And then I circled back around to dive down in a canyon near Gold Canyon, up near the Hydroglyph Trail. There's this area. It's really interesting to me. If you're way back on the front of Gold Canyon and you're glassing the mountains, there's this disc shape up at the very top of the mountain, and it's just sitting there. And there's nothing in front of it, nothing behind it. It's just this giant disc, and it really catches my eye when I'm looking at the mountains. And so I wanted to fly right behind that disc. It looks like a canyon, and so I pulled hard, turned my wing up and down, and I just basically pile drived right through that canyon as fast as I could, and more for fun. But I saw something in that canyon, and it appeared to be, maybe they were statues. I really don't know. I didn't touch them, but they looked like 20-foot tall reptilians wearing like leather vests, and it looked like they were looking at me when I came around the bend of the canyon, and I took a nosedive down. I had a 20-meter wing, so I had to use fuel because I'm a big guy, and I come flying down through that canyon, and I think about it all the time because if you ever see something like a ghost or something, and you don't know what you're looking at, it makes you think about it a lot. Um,
Yeah.
it, there was a group of them, and it
So
looked
were
like
they
they're all
moving? Could you tell
looking
if
at
they
me.
were moving, or are they stand perfectly still, so you don't know if they were statues or they were real?
Yeah,
Or
they were standing completely still, and they appeared to be real. And it was like they were in shock to see me as much as I was in shock to see them.
huh?
I just saw these like looked like leather straps with this round disc like thing on their chest, and they just it looked like they're just looking at me, and it looked like dinosaurs. I mean, they had a face like a dinosaur, and God, I tell you what, I was just like, what, you know? And when I circled back around, I just I couldn't find that location because I couldn't find them, so I lost the location
Huh?
where they were.
Or they moved,
Yeah,
and you just couldn't see them anymore, huh?
I couldn't see them anymore. No.
So
So if they're
so
statues, I just lost the location, or if they're real, then they hid. There's some other things about the mountains.
like what?
Uh, I'm really gonna sound crazy now. uh, so my friend Craig, he's a base jumper, and he base jumps off a flat iron sometimes. And there's another area off the left side where there's a platform where they jump off of. I don't base jump, but there's an area up there on if you're on Flatiron, it's kind of off to the right, and there's this. It looks like a cove. It kind of goes back in, and there's these carvings that look. There's one that looks like a statue of an old man with a big beard, and then there's a carving looks like a lion's head with a unicorn coming out of its head. A nice carved pillar though. Uh, if you ever go up there, don't ever go back there. It's a no hiking zone. It's there's some weird stuff going on back there, and if the reptilians or those other strange beings like the ant people are real, then that's where they are, and
Really?
you don't want to go back there. That's the most dangerous part. Yeah, he said. My friend Craig said you don't want to go back there, and I said why, and he goes, "Let me show you something." And we started to approach that area. There's a wall here and a wall here, and like a small little trail, and then opened up into this big lagoon-looking area, and then those carved statues in the back with a pillar laying sideways. And he said, "Stop right here." I said, "Okay, why?" And he goes, look at the ground." And so I'm looking at the ground, and there's it looked like a little fire pit at my feet. And then there was another little fire pit, another little fire pit. And then I started noticing they're all over the place. Little fire pits, and they're about, well, as big as a fire pit, about 2 feet wide. But there was no rocks around them. And each one had bones in them,
Hmm.
like pretty good sized bones, like big, thick bones. And I said, and I reached down, I grabbed one of the bones, and I said, kind of looks like a piece of a femur. And I said, yeah, I said, I really don't know what the human skeleton looks like. He said, yeah, it's really, really weird right here. He said, now keep looking at the ground as it goes back in. And so I kept looking at the ground, and those fire pits were everywhere, all over in that lagoon area. And there was grass, but it was really, really short, and then fire pits. And they all appeared to have bones in them. And so I started taking pictures. I had a 35 millimeter camera, and not a digital, just old fashioned kind. So I started taking pictures. I took pictures of the statues. I took pictures of the burned spots, and it's near. I believe it's near where a plane crashed. And later, I looked at the photographs really well, and on the statue that looks like an old man with a beard, there was this little white dome looking thing on the shoulder of the statue. and it was about, I don't know, maybe the size of a cantaloupe, just sitting on the shoulder. And there was this little tiny wire, looked like a little squiggly wire that went squiggled up and went into the eyeball of the statue.
Huh.
And I thought, oh my gosh, what is that? So I put on my computer and I zoomed in really big, and I was looking at it. That little dome had this little round tube thing attached to it, and I thought, what is that? Pure white little dome. And I didn't take any further than that. I never went back to that area, but it always made me wonder, what was that dome on that statue, and why were there little fire pits all over in that area? So that's another weird area that I found.
And you said that's an area that you can't go all the way into. It's forbidden. The park rules or something.
You can. I'm forbidding people to go there.
Oh, you're forbidding people. Okay.
No, you can go there, but I wouldn't suggest it. I mean, I don't know, something's going on in those mountains, and
So I would say this. I would say that, and here's what I used to say. Well, here's what and I still think this. Who am I to say that man, you're nuts, you're on drugs, and I used to think that, you probably are, but I didn't know. It wasn't until I talked to a ghost at the Superstition Museum there at the museum there by the Superstition Mountains.
You talked to one?
I talked to him, but I didn't know he was a ghost. Yeah. He looked like a regular person to me. Talked to him for a half hour. I did not know that he was a ghost. I didn't know that he'd been dead for 4 months later. It was 4 months later that I found out that guy had been dead for 10 years. He'd been dead for 10 years. And I never found out for 4 months later, and I thought, man, people are going to think I'm on drugs and I'm, for telling that story. And that changed my whole perspective of, man, what reality is. Because if you was to tell me, that you talked to a ghost for an hour, I thought, man, you're on drugs. So I don't know what the truth is. I'm not, you saw what you saw, you see what you see. And who am I to say that you didn't, because I've had experiences, other people have had experiences, and you can't explain them, and people are going to think, man, you're nuts. So, yeah.
Yeah. There's one experience I had that runs through my mind all the time. It'll make me sound nuts for sure, but I'm going to tell it anyway. If you're driving down Highway 88, like towards Canyon Lake, there's a large turnoff. There's a big sign that's, I can't remember the sign. It's a big white sign. There's a big turnoff. People pull over and camp there sometimes. And I had a little Suzuki SUV. I pulled in there. I had like a bed set up in the back of it. And all the doors were locked. My back side window was busted. Someone had broke in and stole all my camera equipment I had.
Terrible.
But I was back there. I had plexiglass on it and tape around the edge, and a little area that was open on the bottom of the window. I'm laying back there. I mainly camp there because the highway patrol, the sheriffs will park there at night. And I thought, well, I feel kind of safer if they're out there too, camping or just sitting there.
Yeah.
And so I'm backed up, kind of sideways, back near the fence, and I'm sleeping there. And sometime wee hours in the morning, around 3:30 in the morning, I hear something. I hear the bushes shake. And those bushes are like 12 feet tall. And I hear, whoa. And then I hear this voice, and it said, "Should I get him?" And another one was there, and it said, "No, we need a dog." And it sounded like a hissing when they were talking.
Really?
And then the other one goes, "Okay." And then the bushes shook again. I was like, "Holy shit!" Excuse me. I said, I was like, "Oh my God, they're talking about taking me," and they had to have been 20 feet tall or something. And
you seen them?
I didn't see them
in the dark. You kind of see a shadow.
I did not sit up. No, I was laying there just listening. I was like, "Oh my God!" I think those might have been those reptilian people. But when they said that, the next day I started researching how many dogs go missing, and I'm talking thousands of dogs go missing every year in the near the Superstition. Oh yeah, and I just thought, oh my god. Now I'm like onto a whole different subject. You know, I just want to be a treasure hunter, explorer, and here I am researching how many dogs go missing.
Well, and you research that thousands of dogs go missing every now and again. People go missing. They disappear. They're gone. And
yep, yeah, definitely. If the stories are real and there is something living in the mountains, I would say it's very high possibility as they are real, and just based on what I've seen, and they probably live behind those doors in the mountains. And yeah, if I could learn how to ride a horse and I had a group of people, I'd probably have a better chance of finding more of them doors. And I think they should be researched. I think if we find a door, it should be opened up and send the troops in. You know what I mean? Because if people are really being taken in those mountains, we need to figure out where they're being taken to and what's going on.
And I'm not a UFO guy, but just like you say, you go out treasure hunting and you bump into these woo-woo deep dark rabbit holes, and you get drugged down them a little bit, and you hurry up and crawl out, man, before you go any farther down. I mean, you say, man, I'm a treasure hunter. I'm not. But anyways, old Steve Campbell and Dana Harper, they was telling me some crazy things that was going on with the men in black and a UFO that crashed. This just recently that crashed up there in the Superstitions, and there was a war going on up there, man. The military was up there, closed the whole thing down. It was just I 6 months ago or something like that. There was something going on big time there. So
there's a map. Wayne Tuttle. He's a treasure hunter I know out there in the Superstitions. He had a TV show. I can't remember the name of it.
Legends of the Superstitions.
You got
Superstition Mountains. Yeah,
he's a nice guy. He's
very a great guy. Wayne is.
Yeah, and he had a treasure map, but it was where 2 crashed UFOs were.
Really?
And he's going through the treasure maps. He's like, UFO. I don't know if this one's real. I took a snapshot of it. And I tried to decipher it, I'd say it's probably real. But so there's a mountain. It's an Apache mountain. Now the Apaches, they'll probably be angry that I even talking about this, but the state police called me. And they said, it's illegal to hike out into the Red Mountain. It's owned by the Apache. And I said, I never hiked out there. I'm disabled. I can't hike. And they said, well, how do you shoot that live Facebook video? I said, well, the next road over from Red Mountain, it's called Fud Dun or something like that. There's a parking lot. I said, I had my spotting scope sitting on my window, my side window, my door, and I'm spotting, and I can have this little attachment. I can attach my iPhone to it, and I can shoot live video. Well, on the side of Red Mountain, there's those giant hooks. But there's something hanging on those giant hooks. And when I first saw it, like 4 years ago, I was like, oh my God, that's a huge, giant gold nugget. But then after really looking at it and zooming in with a better scope, now I have the largest scope you can buy. And, the 85 millimeter one. And, and you can really zoom in on it. It appears to be a UFO.
Really?
I showed it to my wife. Yeah, she's like, "Oh my God, what is that?" And it's kind of like if you're looking at Red Mountain on the Bush Highway, you got Red Mountain, and then you got this other mountain right next to it, and then there's this crack in between the two. It hangs in that crack area, right on the side of the mountain. And I did some research. I guess satellites can't pick up aircraft if it's hanging on the side of the mountain.
Hmm.
So I don't, if UFOs are real, that's probably a UFO.
Huh. Yeah.
I've seen it many, many times. Every time I go down there, I check to see if it's still there. And it's still there. It's about the size of 6 cars, and anybody can pick it out. You can pick it out with a pair of binoculars. You can see it.
So, man, you've explored a lot of things. You've seen a lot of interesting things.
Yep. Yeah, I found a lot of things.
So, is there any other areas that you've explored and seen some interesting things?
Yeah,
It sounds like you're an explorer, and you're an extreme explorer. You know, you get in there with the paragliders. You skydive into an area you want to get to. You know.
Yeah, I don't hold back. When you invited me to Moon Lake Gathering, I went way out there in Moon Lake, and you can ask a few guys. They saw me. I was just like had my big binoculars on, scoping the whole lake, the mountain behind the lake, and and I had my spotting scope out there after everyone was taken off from the Moon Lake area. I was over the cattle gate, and I was just like off on the side of the road in my Jeep. I'm spotting the side of the mountain, and I have flown my paramotor through the Uinta Mountains, and I found a stone bear in the Uintas with gold eyes the size of semi truck tires.
Where? Because I've been looking for a stone bear.
What? You've been looking for one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have a photo of it on my Facebook page.
Huh.
The first photo you see, that's I think it's on my Facebook. Yeah, it's about 50 feet tall, and I don't know, it kind of looks like a dog, maybe a bear, but looks like a bear holding a block. And the eyes, I mean, if you zoom in, you can see the eyes are big, and they look like they're 24 karat gold.
Yeah, this one I'm looking for is life size, standing up, and it's supposed to be intricately detailed, carved. Even the hair is carved on this thing so much that it's got curled hair and everything. You know, the mouth is open. It's got carved teeth. The carved teeth.
Yeah, this is like that.
Huh.
Yeah, you can see the curly hair all over the back of it. The mouth is wide open. It kind of has a heart-shaped mouth. Someone had carved something off the mouth. Maybe gold was on the mouth at one point. I don't know. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things in the Uintas. I found a bird. There's like a 40-foot wall, and then there's a bird, and its head is turned sideways, and there's eggs underneath of it, and the breast of the bird looks like a big diamond shape of like a shield of gold, like a Knights Templar type shield of gold. That's in the Uintas. I found that just with my binoculars driving my Jeep. I can't hike or climb up to something like that anymore. But I'm pretty good at finding stuff.
Cool.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm looking for a team of people that might want to investigate the sites that I discovered. Maybe you want to be a part of that. Like this temple right here. It has a sphinx on it. Right here. It's a sphinx with a headdress. Has legs and feet. And windows going down the side of it. It's not that good a photo, but I can send. I think I might have sent you a better photo of it. But that's worth investigating.
So is that? I mean, you spent time there and got close to it, so it is kind of carved. It's not just something in the rocks, like seeing animals in the clouds. Seeing something.
Right. Yeah, it's definitely carved. My wife took a really good photo of it. Yeah, it's off the beating path. I had to take my Rubicon out as far as I could get, and then kind of hike to where you could actually see it. and it's between the three mountains. It's definitely hidden, and it appears like when I was flying over it, it looked like it was a ship at one time. Like I could kind of see a hull,
Huh.
and down the sides it looks like it has two rails like a ship would have, but the whole thing, of course, it appears to be sandstone. But I'm thinking it probably got caught up in a flood, and maybe it was under the ocean at one time, and the mud stuck to it. And then when the water receded, maybe the sun baked the mud on. It's definitely a carved house, like looks like a rock house. It's in the Superstition Mountains, and there's definitely two pillars, and that would be the legs. It possibly could be the Lost Dutchman mine.
So,
There's definitely gold. I could see a giant. It looked like a giant stone, about the size of a Tesla.
So if people wanted to get a hold of you, what's your social media? You say you got a Facebook page and you got a YouTube channel, and how can people check you out and get a hold of you if they want, or?
The best way is through Facebook, and as you know, I'm a treasure hunter, so you'll see my Facebook page. It's just Shane Gorrell. You could also find me through Archangel Exploration, the hashtag. I am on YouTube. I don't have a big YouTube channel. My wife says I should hike around and explore and shoot video more. Probably when we go back down there, we will. We'll be heading down there probably in about a month or two. I'll be coming into Utah first. I want to go back to the Uintas.
Well, the Uintas, they don't have a lot of snow, but they got snow now, and it's going to get more. So it might have to be springtime, summer before you can really check that
The
out.
area I want to go to, the Uintas, doesn't have any snow. Never gets any snow.
Really?
I don't know why. It looks like it looks like an area. There's snow all around it, but in that one spot, there's no snow ever.
Well, that's an interesting feature right there.
That's where the bear is.
Huh. Yeah,
You
that's
know,
interesting.
all those guys I met there at Moonlight Gathering. Gosh, I had a good time there.
Well, I'm glad you did.
I
I'm
met
glad you
some
came out.
awesome people.
I wished I had some more time to talk with you, but I was a busy guy.
Oh, you were, yeah, and you do that every year, huh?
Yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
well, we've had it there for 4 years now. Mark and Kent, they've had it. They had it at another place, and it was way
Mm-hmm.
smaller. But we moved it over to they moved it over to here, and we ramped it up and made it bigger, and so
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah, I had a really good time.
well, good.
All those people were so interesting, and I loved looking at their photos, and yeah. So some people found some real treasure. It was pretty neat. And I like listening to, people, oh, I know exactly where the Montezuma Lost City of Gold is.
Yeah.
I love listening to that because yeah, they may have, found something, and yeah, I believe I found the Montezuma Lost City of Gold too. I'm doing a interview on Channel 12. It'll be a live interview, and we're gonna fly in a helicopter out to where I think it is.
Cool.
And there's this ginormous monkey head, and it looks like it has boulders of gold all around the eyes.
Hmm.
And it's pretty neat. And then there's it looks like King Montezuma. There's a statue that's really tall, like 200 feet tall, and it has a headdress that goes back and kind of droops down a little bit, and he's holding a giant heart stone, and he's holding it like this, and it just looks like it's dripping in gold, and it's pretty neat. And I don't care about the gold, I really don't. I just want to be known as the guy that found it.
Cool.
Yeah. So whatever it is, that's where that temple is right there. So, but it would be fun to take, if I could ride a horse or something. It'd be fun to take a bunch of people out and investigate it before an interview. But I don't know. I don't know. I'm not personally friends with a bunch of treasure hunters. Explorers that
Yeah, yeah.
would actually go out to these locations with me.
Cool. Well, I
It'd
know
be worth
someday
it.
we'll have to hook up, and definitely, if you're willing to take me to go see that giant skull, I want to go see that giant skull.
Okay. Yeah. Yep. I'll take you, and you will be in shock.
Okay.
And you
And
can
with that,
have it.
I don't. I just want to see it and know if it's real. So,
Yeah.
so with that said, Shane, man, I appreciate you talking with us, and that's a wrap.